I am the boss of the carpenters that Impa hired to improve this village and make it into a true city. This quote is from the head carpenter found in Ocarina of Time's Kakariko Village. Unfortunately, the plans Impa had set into motion during Ocarina of Time never truly came to fruition throughout the entirety of the Zelda Timeline. This begs the question, what event ultimately sealed the fate of Kakariko, holding it back from ever becoming a city? To fully understand this one, we'll have to learn a bit about Kakariko prior to the events of Ocarina of Time. With the help of many quotes found within the game, we can see that Kakariko was once a Sheika village. Based off the graveyard and the fact that Impa is the last known Sheika, it's safe to say the other Sheika died off or were wiped out. This shows that Kakariko Village didn't really come from humble beginnings. Sometime after the Hyrulean Civil War, Impa opened the village to the less fortunate in Hyrule, opening her house to the public and looking to expand the village in hopes of Kakariko one day becoming a city similar to Castletown. Jumping forward to the events of Ocarina of Time, after Link drains the Well of Three Features and becomes an adult, an evil creature known as Bongo Bongo breaks the seal holding him within the well, setting fire to the village. Although it's not shown in Ocarina of Time, it's likely Kakariko suffered from major structural damage caused by the massive fire. After this point, the village doesn't really get too much more attention, so now let's head over to the timeline split. I'll be going from left to right, explaining each separate fate of Kakariko. Obviously, first on our list is the Downfall timeline. After Link is defeated, Ganon is sealed within the Sacred Realm by the Seven Sages. Seeing as Impa was the leader of Kakariko Village, Impa becoming a sage possibly conflicted with her watching over the village. Fortunately, Kakariko was left in good hands from what we see in both A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds. A descendant of the Seven Sages resides in Kakariko and watches over the village, possibly even one of Impa's descendants. With the help of the village elder and descendant of the Seven Sages, Sarasrahal, Kakariko lasted and even kept the same amount of buildings seen in Ocarina of Time. The windmill missing is likely due to decay, and the graveyard was possibly covered by the forest located behind the village. But nevertheless, Kakariko Village remained a safe haven for the less fortunate in Hyrule, up until the Legend of Zelda. After A Link Between Worlds, the lead gets a little cold when coming to Kakariko Village. It looks as though Impa's dream of Kakariko didn't play out according to plan. But hey, at least it lasted in this timeline, and who knows? We may just see this village in a later installment, possibly clearing up its story in between A Link Between Worlds and The Legend of Zelda. Following it up with the Child timeline, Link succeeds in defeating Ganondorf and is sent back 7 years to warn the King of Hyrule of Ganondorf so the events of Ocarina of Time never take place. This leaves us with a split, the Child timeline where Link was sent back, and the Adult timeline where Link left Hyrule in peace, but we'll cover that one later on. Soon after Link warned the King of Ganondorf's plans to sack Hyrule Castle, a war broke out amongst the Hylians and the Gerudo. The Gerudo were pushed out of Hyrule, and Ganondorf was hunted down and sentenced to be executed. The war, along with possible natural disasters, drastically changed the landscape of Hyrule forever, directly affecting Kakariko Village and its inhabitants. Impa would be used as a vital asset in the war, helping the Knights of Hyrule effectively defend against the Gerudo warriors. Kakariko would have possibly been used as a focal point for the Knights of Hyrule, allowing them to take advantage of the safety of high ground. Once the war was all said and done, Kakariko was no longer used as a base of operations by the Knights, allowing some of the villagers to rebuild after the war. By this point, the events of Twilight Princess take place, and as we can see, Kakariko is a dry, arid village that looks very similar to a ghost town. With only a handful of native inhabitants left in Kakariko at the beginning of Twilight Princess, it did look as though there was no hope left for this old run-down village. At last, with the help of Link, the Gorons, and the kids from Ordon Village, Kakariko was able to bring itself back to life, allowing it to survive even longer in this timeline. Continuing on, we come to the events of Four Swords Adventures. Though Kakariko Village isn't in the game for very long, we can see it is still around at the end of the child timeline. And like always, it's being terrorized by someone. Link helps the villagers and life seems to continue on for this village in the end. It's highly likely we'll be seeing Kakariko in this part of the timeline once more, hopefully doing a bit better than what we see in Twilight Princess and Four Swords Adventures. Last but certainly not least is the adult timeline. This one doesn't turn out so hot for Kakariko Village. Heck, it doesn't turn out well for all of Hyrule. After Link saved the day at the end of Ocarina of Time and is sent back to his own era, this version of Hyrule was left without a hero. Time passed and one day Ganondorf broke free from the Sacred Realm, shrouding Hyrule in darkness. The people had no one else to go to other than the gods. Hearing the prayers of the people of Hyrule, the gods flooded the land, sealing Ganondorf and the castle at the bottom of the ocean. So yeah, everything got washed away, leaving Kakariko under the ocean as well, right? Well, some people believe that Windfall Island is in fact Kakariko Village. Though this theory does have a few solid points, I think it was more likely the people of Hyrule and Kakariko made one of the neighboring mountains near Death Mountain their refuge, creating a new town around the island. Kakariko Village just wasn't high enough to not be flooded with the rest of Hyrule. So seemingly, after the flood, Kakariko Village was completely wiped out, with Windfall Island becoming the new home of its villagers. All in all, Kakariko had it rough throughout the entirety of the Zelda timeline, and Impa's intentions for the village to become a city never came true in any side of the timeline so far. Each version of Kakariko had a unique turning point that held the village back from ever becoming what it was meant to be. So what do you guys think? Will Kakariko Village ever get its chance to shine like Impa wanted it to? Will it finally become something more in Zelda Wii U? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all so much for being patient with my time off. I've just started to get everything in order to bring you guys and gals the best quality videos possible. Hope to see you all again. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.